Remember, be quiet.
The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of the never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
All right, everyone. Welcome to the World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 139 consecutive weeks of this show. And this show's subject, chosen by all of you, is: can state laws or an executive order stop CBDCs? So our hosts today are Lisa Mighty Davis from the Mighty Lair, Greg from Rivet, Sean, everyone's best friend, and I'm the founder and architect, Dragonchain, Chief Dragon, whatever you'd want to say, and I'm MC today, unless one of you guys want to take it over or anything. First, quick update on the Lair ownership tokens, governance tokens from last week, NFTs. Every host from last week will receive 666 lot. It is formulaic, so if anybody has any numerologists that want to say anything, it's like whatever. Every topic contributor will receive 666 lot. And last week's theme was nominated by Dayrocks, who will also receive the same amount of lot. These ownership tokens come with free edits in the Lair, perpetual passive income for all activity in the Lair, and most importantly, governance votes to direct this program. You know, if you want to change the way we round the number of tokens or something like that,
or just make one of us wear like a ridiculous outfit or something. Yeah, we can do that.
Yes, yeah. If you want Greg to wear a particular style of hat,
yep.
Sean to wear, I don't know. So, so let us
it can
know.
Be like an extra random hat too. You could actually make me work for it if you had enough voting power.
That would be pretty good. I mean, you know, the what is it? Like the story from Mark Knopfler playing the soundtrack for Princess Bride. That he would only do it. He would only do it if
it was As You Wish, correct?
Can't even remember, but I know that he only did it if they put this one hat from. What was the other movie that was made with the fake band blanking on it? Anyway, one of their hats was in Princess Bride. And that's what Mark Knopfler's demand was if he was going to do the music. Anyway, it's pretty cool.
Spinal Tap?
What's that?
Spinal Tap?
Yes, Spinal Tap. Thank you. Like
there you go.
Years, right? So okay.
Smell the Glove was the name of their album.
That was fun.
Really? Okay, so I'm going to show. Let's see here. Make sure I have the right thing up. Yes. So this is the pending vote for what should be the themes for the month of February. I've not voted yet, and it's good that I've not voted yet, so I can show this. So first option, layer ones versus layer zeros. No vote yet. Securing the Internet of Things with blockchain and a space I, or a carriage return I. No votes yet. Manipulation of the cryptocurrency market by government institutions. Sorry, I made it bigger, so it's rapid. But it has one voter, 2.9%.
Interesting idea.
It is.
They could dump some, probably.
Yeah. You know, maybe this is even an historical question. Has this happened yet? Right. I think this has happened. Peace.
In fact, I would bet they have an auto trader probably designed with the purpose of manipulating the market. Liquidity is low enough that they could, yes. And probably nobody would notice.
I would even say it's not even necessarily a nation state government. It's one of those crazy, weird, next gen governmental organ, what maybe it's an NGO even, but those have even
They've been
done
doing
it.
that just with
Like,
rumors.
imagine an army of
Yes, they
optimized
do it.
arbitrage bots that
Yeah.
were optimized not against trying to get you a gain in arbitrage, but trying to force the market to suppress the value of the underlying asset using patterns you can detect from historical data. Like
Yep.
you could actually build that shit.
And I will
If you
have
had billions of dollars
can-
to burn on tanking or suppressing the price of crypto.
if that one makes it in, I have plenty of stories that from that I could cite from that I've noticed over the years where I guarantee that's happened.
It's permitted
Okay,
by the laws of physics. So
Yeah, I remember
should at
several
least
years ago
consider
where
it.
Russia was coming out and like talking about banning crypto, and I really think that they were doing the Jamie Dimon thing. They were talking a lot of crap with out of their mouth, and they were buying it up.
Bank of England has done it. U.S. government's done it. I guarantee China's definitely done it as well.
Maybe
And
we
it's all
all violate our fiduciary duties, and we were the CEOs of the biggest bank in the country.
Well, and weren't there rumors about them using the Mt. Gox funds to dump on the market secretly?
yeah, I'm sure.
Or some of the, NSA mining all the Bitcoin.
Obviously, that's a good one to get voted.
It is.
Yeah. If you were going to figure out how to do it, let's say you're the evil actor, how do you accomplish?
Yeah, I like it.
It's sort of an interesting way.
I like that subject. That would be a fun one, right? I mean, it's
Sounds
it's
like
a fun
we all
one,
like it.
and it's important, right? So next, peace on earth and goodwill toward men through blockchain. It's not a bad one. That maybe the ways that you could push for peace with blockchain.
It would also make an ironic audible if you had something really bomb throwy to put underneath
That's
it.
the truth. That'll be the let's not vote that one in because that'll be the week that the hot war kicks off. Blockchain's role in justice system reform that could be super powerful. That's needed.
Dude, even odds YouTube doesn't check videos with that title any deeper.
Yeah. And then next, Bull Run, which of course 2 votes for that. 3. That's probably in the lead. Yeah. Next Bull Run, not very many votes yet, right? It's just posted last night, so 3.5% for the next Bull Run. And I don't know if that means what we should do is whatever. There's lots of stuff we can talk about with the Bull Runs, right?
Oh yeah. The next one's going to be historic.
Okay.
It's just getting started.
Theme of the week though is. Let's see here. I
want to talk about the theme of the week, but I also want to call an audible with the. I can't wait to get to current events with the Coinbase.
We could go quick.
There's so much stuff in current events.
So let's just get through these real quick because this is.
It's a great topic.
I guarantee there's gonna be a good segue between this and that. So anyway, all right. So we go straight to it. I will share it over here. Sorry, share this tab. Blah blah blah. And by the way. If my machine totally fails, thank you, NVIDIA. I will be right back. Right, so don't panic. And I don't think anybody else has admin, so you'll just have to keep talking. You probably won't be able to, go to commercial or anything. Right. So anyway, while I refresh this, executive order. Okay, so we'll go to the questions. First question: Day rocks, and I did vote equally on all these, by the way. I don't think CBDCs can be stopped. If they are not in the US, they will be in other countries. My question is rather, can we admit that it is decentralization? I don't know what that means. Until now, countries are forced to use US dollars. And if they don't, then an empty chemical bottle will be found and a war will begin. That's a good point. And truth, isn't it the fact that other countries want to trade in their own currencies if even if they are CBDCs? Isn't that a progressive? Isn't that a progress?
I think the devil is in the details. It could be, right? It just depends on how they do it. Technically, El Salvador has a central bank digital currency. It's called Bitcoin. They just adopted it, but they don't have a central bank running that currency, and it's legal tender. So you can think of it as like
it's legal tender. That's not a CBDC for them.
It's right, but for all intents and purposes, they're using a crypto token as a national currency.
Yes, that's
the question.
That's different.
Is it isn't so much is it a token or is it digital? The question is it crypto? And I think that's really the core focus of this.
I think what he's saying or asking or saying
consensus mechanism.
Right now, there is no decentralization at all. Everything is the dollar. So if there's different CBDCs, that is a form, because you have a choice, which you haven't been allowed to have a choice, or else you die. Which is one of the reasons for everything in the Middle East.
People have you ever really tried to hold like a lot
currency.
of British pounds in the United States before? Like, how hard is that?
Well, I guess I bartered. I traded some British pounds once for some dude on the plane next to me didn't have any cash to buy alcohol, and
but there's like somebody you can drive to that can get it in volume, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
like you've got to go to the exchange and you got to buy the cash.
I will say
somebody has a lot on.
I will say I do agree. I do think that this is true. So first of all, can CBDCs be stopped in the U.S.? Who knows? Hopefully,
yeah, I think they can be.
I think they can be, but will they? I guess maybe is what I'm answering.
Before we're done with this, that notion, come back to me. I have a theory on how we could do it.
Okay, I agree. So.
I don't think
I do think it is decentralization, though, that if these other countries would adopt. And now here's the problem. Any of the other countries is not going to be any different than Gaddafi saying we're going to go to gold standard and we're going to make this African currency backed by gold. Guess what? You get killed. The whole make your own bank meme, right? Where they killed him. And the other thing I would argue, and U.S. dollar is such a strange thing because just like Bitcoin, it's a name, and I don't actually think it's controlled by the U.S. So it's a weird thing that the money that has, by the way, through us, through our slavery, created an infinite money supply in the world, is literally what will push. Oh, we need to print a bunch more money and go kill that guy because
printing itself right now as we destruction. Speak. It's more than that. Right?
But I'm just saying it is an interesting thing, but I think that decentralization
running off printed money
won't really be decentralization. That if any of these countries adopt a CBDC, it's going to be fully within their plan.
If it's unless by the central bank,
unless you preemptively hit and you do something like sneaky, like add a requirement, right? Get a bill passed by as much graft and force as you can muster in the dirtiest town in the United States and maybe broader, right? Go there with money and buy yourself a bill that says something like this. There shall be no central bank digital currency but that which is deployed on a non-proof of authority or like consensus mechanism, any public consensus mechanism, and the chain has to be public with no private or hidden transactions capable, right? You put them on an audit chain, and that's the CBDC. Like you can have a CBDC, but if you pass it, it has to have these properties. Otherwise, it violates
that kind of goes law. With Reggie's patents, XRP. That's where they kind of walked themselves into that system. They don't even realize it was kind of a Trojan horse. They said, build this system. And then I think it may end up exposing a lot because it has asymmetric key pairs, all the things that, if you look at his patent, it mirrors that.
Right. And a proper currency plan should support multiple blockchains. Like they should have to deploy on any reasonably known.
All right. Well, and we'll get into it. I know there is a question on here later that actually asks for solutions. And I think it's where we can really expand,
I don't think that you can stop CBDCs, but I think if you try to be the glasses half full person, it does bring a decentralization to closed-minded Americans, which we're the worst.
Well, and it's ideal too from a purely Hayekian standpoint, right? To have competing currencies.
That's the thing that we don't have. I don't. It was the weirdest thing for me to think about other countries.
You can't outlaw crypto.
When they think about when they talk about things, them talking about things based in a currency not their own. Yeah. And we don't think that way. If you've traveled, you've seen some kind of decentralization. Whatever country you're at, you go in, and like you were talking about the guy on the plane. Like you don't have enough of that currency, and they're like, oh, we also take U.S. dollars or euros or whatever. We don't just take this this country's money. And we have no concept of that in the United States.
Yeah.
You're not going to walk into, an ice cream place and like, oh, I only have, I'm short 50 cents. Oh, we also take, Mexican pesos or something. It's not in our mind. And we would have that then, because there would be different CBDCs. And like Greg was talking about, if certain CBDCs have certain attributes that people like, whether it's a privacy thing or something built into it, they will go to that. That is a good thing.
And if it's public,
in that way,
and open source by law, maybe we make it open source by law, right? And they have to deploy it on a public blockchain. Then if they make a change that points some pointer at a different contract that fucks you over, they can't hide that they're doing it. Everyone will know, and there will still be alternatives on the market.
When we get to the solutions, that's something I want to bring up, because there is a positive thing about CBDCs that it highlights, hopefully for the public, at least for people who are watching stuff, how things work. Right.
I wouldn't recommend.
And once you know how they work, then you can decide, wait a minute, that's not how they should work in a democracy or a republic, or in the West. So anyway, okay, I think it's good. Next question from Jacob Wayne regarding cryptocurrencies: where is the line between the federal and the state governments?
Who cares? It doesn't exist.
Originally, it was a right reserved to the people below the state level.
Yeah.
So I would say the 10th Amendment probably, at least in the United States, kicks it back to us by default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question is like I was saying, it's the mindset.
The free banking.
They have a mindset of like that this is actually a question or a thing. When like we all were just like, no, it's not really even a thing. There's not really a line. Of course it goes back to the states. That's something I think that's coming. That just the whole way of thinking is going to a different way and a better way than what we've been talking about. It was like, talking about blockchain cryptocurrency till I'm blue in the face. And my friends are just like, oh, you're so silly with your fake internet money. I'll never touch that, dollar bills. And then all of a sudden Libra came out. And then they're like, well, I guess we're going to be using this. And so it takes that, and then people start thinking, about it, and then they finally look down the rabbit hole.
Dude, it also explains why Diamond's double talking against his own company right now. Because until Warren's little bill gets passed, self-custody is legal.
Well, last night Trump announced
they don't want people
when
getting excited about
New
Bitcoin
Hampshire,
and accidentally buying the real thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Greg?
I said they don't want people getting excited about Bitcoin and accidentally buying the real thing. So Jamie Dimon has to come out and talk shit on it on the shows that the dummies watch.
I heard him saying it again.
And take seriously. I mean, it's fun to watch those shows, but don't take it seriously.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seems like it's outright fraud if you have the leader of an organization saying something is horrible, evil, and used for illegal things, but you can buy it from my analysts.
Oh, actually, no, we're not letting you touch it.
Yeah, well,
actually, what we're going to do is we're going to sell you an exchange traded fund that you can decide to short or long it. By the way, we're going to recommend shorty Air Force option, right? Like you're probably going to bring in Tesla Q.
My answer to this is there is no law. Right now, I don't think law exists. I think all that exists are judges and elitists that get to decide if you did something bad and therefore should, be put away or killed or whatever. I don't think that there is any reasonable, objective law in our country right now, right? So I'm going to say other countries, sure.
I mean, other than the obvious ones, right? Like all the ones that cause you to go to prison for violent crimes.
I don't know. If you speed, you can pay off the local courts somehow if you have enough money. If you kill somebody, depends on what class you are and race you are and who knows what else.
Well, and usually that happens because there's some market that's regulated into a black market.
If you say certain things too, you're going to be something else. And it's like this quasi where it's maybe not even going to go to a criminal law, but you're just going to be destroyed in reputation and your ability to make money. So I don't know.
Well,
there's no law.
Left to free market devices, the price of any destructively dangerous drug would rapidly go down if it was highly addictive.
Well,
right?
we've seen that. That's why Ulbricht is in prison for how many life sentences?
Right, because
Crazy.
he invented a whack-a-mole game they can't win.
It's ridiculous. So, all right, next up, I am for I am. Question discussion. Can the panel take a few minutes to talk solely on solutions and not pointing out obvious problems with CBDCs or defining the problems with them? How about solution talk, solution idea discussions on
Yeah.
topic? So
I love that question, by the way.
So if let's say a new, similar to a constitutional convention, maybe it should be at that level, where we say, okay, we're going to allow a CBDC to be combined, but people get input. So, so what are the things that and maybe it should even be no to CBDC entirely. But if there is one here, I would only agree to it if these things were added, right? Or were a part of
right
CBDC contract, the infrastructure. So who wants to start?
Well, I think like Texas has the Texas Blockchain Council. The governor's done a lot of stuff about blockchain and cryptocurrency, which has brought in like a lot of crypto mining companies and other, it's obvious all this tech is moving here, which has not been great for the state because it's coming from California, and now Apple's just moving here. But with the division in the country, it's a very positive way to look at all the division everywhere. But especially with Texas, like I talked about how basically Texas passed laws that go directly against the federal government. And there was some stuff happened, which we could talk about that in current events, which I didn't think was going to happen as fast as I said it was going to happen, and it happened real quick. But yeah, I guess it goes along with this. So the state, Texas Guard and state troopers kicked the feds out of Eagle Pass and started to interact with the migrants with riot gear. And the federal agencies, they said you're not allowed back in this area. Don't come in here. And they backed down 100%. They did not go in there. So my point is, like Wyoming, Texas, hopefully other states that understand blockchain, understand what's at risk, they would not only come out with their own versions of like a state CBDC, but do it correctly and then show that how it's supposed to be done correctly.
Right. And don't close off competition from it.
It kind of push everything in the right direction as far as a national CBDC, and also just get people to understand that there is a difference.
And I think it should be mandatory for the state to immediately work to make it interactive and co-compatible with all other blockchains. Like it should use open technologies, open source standards, and not have any external limitations on its transferability to other types of digital asset. Like that needs to be part of the rule, so that if they start to suck and make it terrible, people have a reasonable right of exit. They'd actually probably build it pretty good if they were worried about actually having to compete with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Just using the word open source is like kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they hear that, they think, "Oh, that's not secure."
It should be codified.
Open source means anyone can get in there and hack it.
Well,
they can hack whatever it is and take away my money and my information. So just getting the basic understanding of how technology works, whatever technology it is. But a lot of people, it's just like politics. It's like, oh, it didn't affect me. I don't care. So they have such a bury your head in the sand and whatever it is, I don't care about it. And however the sausage is made.
Well, CBDCs have also kind of been done a favor for us here with this conversation because they've been sold to the mainstream. So they actually know the word. And if the trust ratios nationwide or anything like they look, at least in the United States and pretty much anywhere else, WEF style good times are had globally, right? We have a pretty strong idea of our support base here. Like we could actually pretty much get people to go through learning how to self-custody for the sake of avoiding it, given the press that's already available. Like that they wouldn't be able to look at and go, you're just being a Democrat or a Republican. They're like, oh, you're trying to help us get away from this bullshit.
Do you have anything, Lisa?
This is weird, man.
Yeah.
But Lisa was talking about before the show how she thinks the world's turning around, things are different. I have been like a voice of positivity and optimism, which is weird. I feel very uncomfortable and out of place. State governments are corrupt too. I am, but
agreed.
On such a smaller.
Well, there are more of them. So it's like one of them might be right.
Double-edged sword, because they make more personal types of laws. So if they're after you, make your life a living fucking hell. Like they'll write a law that takes you out of business specifically for your specific business alone. Like and try to get away with it.
In our local area, there was a dog catcher that used his city funds to buy himself new tires for his truck, and people wanted him to go to prison for that. And to think of that on a national, like look at Pelosi and all the crazy stuff that we just accept.
Well,
it's like out of our hands.
That's what I would add is that there should be, like, as far as state funds for, if we use that, could be a positive thing. CBDC for having transparency, for We the People's funds. Like I was just watching a thing. I can't remember his name. It's not Jack Posobiec, but the other guy, that does all the runs around and does all the investigative journalism. He's doing the Nogales thing, and he just was showing the Red Cross they get $400 million every year, and they are moving illegal immigrants into trafficking them into the US. And so like that should be transparent. We should know about that. If we're sending $400 million to the Red Cross and they're sending illegal immigrants over.
If they put in a CBDC, it should be a requirement that the government funds on it too. Like that all the taxes go into.
But at the same time, we the people should have an option of privacy and not being tracked. And that's where that's that double-edged sword.
We got to take their weapons and turn them on them because they're really aimed the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah. At least when it comes to information weapons.
But then as a solution, couldn't you have two different CBDCs? Literally the government CBDC.
You could replicate the two circuit
like a side
chain model if you wanted to go to that level of shenanigans internally.
Yeah, and so my answer is, and you know, the reason this even popped up is that we wrote this paper because Singapore had some open proposal system for CBDC. I think it was Singapore, and we had already written up a bunch of stuff for a candidate, and it wasn't for him, but it was for somebody who wanted to bring it through to them. And they were, you know, they didn't talk to us, they talked to these other people, but a candidate for president in some African republic. And so we had already put a lot of thought into, you know, if we had the ideal system, and even at Disney, we had talked quite a bit about this, that if you put together a currency, there could be positives. Like, let's say you had the founding fathers. It would, you know, no lobbyists. Jamie Dimon's not in the room, right? They're just sitting around, and they need to solve this problem. I mean, they would probably just say, "Well, we've already got gold, guys. Why do we need anything else?" That said, you could have a positive influence with money in several ways with the CBDC. And I don't know if it would actually be a central bank digital currency. It'd be more like it would be a republic digital currency or something like that. I wouldn't call it a central bank.
You could kill the CB part pretty easily and it would be a lot more useful.
But you could if you needed, and I'm not an economist and I have several things that I believe in, but you know, economists are hit or miss, right? That you could definitely cook in a set amount of inflation, a set amount of deflation. And the main point to even bring this up is that it should be an ongoing, transparent contract between the state and the people that essentially, here is, like say with Bitcoin, here is the yield that's going to come out, predicted over a certain period of time. If that's going to change, it would need to be with advance notice. You have to give 60 days notice that, okay, inflation's, we're going to produce more for this war or something else. I don't know. But one way or another, all of the things would be transparent. And then, we even had a lot of thoughts put in about, because it's scalability, things like that were important. That's why Dragonchain was created. But essentially where you could back the currency with a basket of crypto where you can prove reserves. There are also ways to transparently, and I have a couple of designs I've talked about in the past where you could transparently prove reserves in gold or other precious metals as well. That could be a part of it, and it could be a mixed bag. It could be whatever. But the beauty is it's all possible, and it would be positive. I would never trust anyone in our current government or in power right now to actually do all of the things or any of the things that should be a part of this to make it useful, honorable, and a good thing for the world.
Step one, stripping out as many points of human intervention for corruption as possible, right?
Right. But things as simple as, and it could even be, if you had a new nation, let's say an oil platform or something, that taxes, for example, would be on chain. So you would say, okay, I paid my taxes, and because I paid my taxes, I can actually vote not only to approve a measure, but to fund it. So my taxes are this amount, and I can put half of that in the war budget because I'm an idiot and I want somebody to go kill people. And the beauty is it would turn into what republics are supposed to be, which is where you don't have a state constantly going to war because it doesn't make sense economically or morally, right?
Well, it doesn't make sense at all. It's literally pointless.
And yet somehow it happens. We don't have control of that money supply. So
you'll always hear, like, you guys remember
the stuff you're talking about,
Fifth Element? You guys remember the movie Fifth Element, where they introduce you to Zorg for the first time?
First Element,
and the priest walks in the room and he's like, no, what I serve is the public good, and he shoves something off the table and points out all the little robots. And instead of the priest making the right response, which was actually, that graft is not to be spent here. If the windows aren't already broken, you don't buy broken windows, you buy something else. So or buy window repairs, you buy something else, right? The broken glass theory of economics is like a canard. It's a trick. And it's for some reason kind of in the sub-psyche of everybody's view of tokenomics, and it doesn't have to be. Like the CBDC could actually be structured well if we could force them the right way, if we had actually control of our government first.
That's the thing. What you're talking about is getting
devious
control
strategy
of the government, which we're supposed to already have that in the people that we vote.
State level
to send people
regulations on how it has to be if it exists
all the time. We don't want to be in perpetual war. We don't want money to go to this. And then our representatives are supposed to do that. So just the talking about that literally says, oh, the system is completely broken. It doesn't work. Yeah. We need to have actual control of the purse strings. It's like your spouse is just blowing the money and you've talked to him. He's like, hey, stop buying this. We can't afford this. Or you're putting us into debt. You have to take away the credit card. You have to put limits on it because you can't trust them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we were talking about. Is, well, here's my taxes. I don't want it to go to war. I don't want it to go here. I want it to go to this. Just by saying that, you're literally talking about the larger problem of how.
That's why the national divorce, they broke the contract with the Constitution, with this, and that's where they've broken the contract with the state.
And government secrecy just doesn't amend itself to that, right? Like, we have to be able to see everything. If they have to all swear us in and make us able to see classified things, we should all be allowed to see what the hell they're doing behind closed doors.
Well, it used to be more. It used to be
because otherwise we can't tell what they're spending it on.
We, the people, were much more. we were more of a centralized goal. We're all working towards the same thing. To where now, it's oh, we can't trust you, we can't trust them. We can trust a guy to have sex with a Chinese spy and still keep
Not
him
over yet, Jade Dragon.
on the intelligence committee. But it's weird that the government just says you have to trust us completely, and we don't trust you at all, and we're the ones that keep getting caught lying and screwing people over.
So you guys want a manageable strategy we could actually use to assault one if it were to appear and we felt we needed to fight it?
Sure.
State level regulations on how it has to behave, not how it has to not be in the state. If you make state level regulations that say any central bank digital currency to be lawful for use in the state must adhere to these principles of design, and you impose requirements on it, ideally varied, wherever you go, and they will never be able to build it.
And
not if
frankly with that,
even
that's actually a really good point, because if you got enough states doing enough different, it's almost like a
if it costs something to your constituents, if you don't side with doing it that way, then you are not going to be a very successful state legislature or federal legislature. Right?
Yeah, but then
if you are a senator from Iowa and Iowa says you have to design it like this or else.
But they'll get all
your
of
job
the
is now
middle
to
states by
fucking
saying we're not going to fund your highway budgets.
Yeah, they already do that though. I mean, there's so many examples of people voting against their own.
You would force your federal Congress people to take a stand against your state's own
party
laws.
lines.
If you
there's every Democrat votes a certain way, every Republican votes a certain way, even if it's bad for their district. Like I've said, I can respect a guy that would vote for a terrible bill that would kill the environment and hurt kids and do whatever if it's good for his, like if it's for coal and he's from Pennsylvania and he votes for some terrible bill that would just destroy the environment, but it's great for coal. Understand that completely. Well, but they've literally done shown that you can't trust them to vote for their constituents, and they're still part of the party. If the DNC or if the RNC puts them out there, that's your choice, and you have to take it. And I think things are starting to improve because people are like, "Hey, man, I've been voting for this group, and my life sucks. Hasn't gotten better for a long time, so I don't know why I'm doing it." That realization.
But the problem with that, Sean, is that that would be for a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't. I've always voted for this group, and everything still seems to stay the same somehow. Now, I do have one thing that, like, say, backing with precious metals. I mean, it's an interesting thing to me that even in the crypto world, yet again, all of the exchanges where you have the risk of them, fiddling around with reality of what is Bitcoin. That I deposit my Bitcoin, I can see it in my account. That doesn't mean that they don't have fake Bitcoin floating around, right? They don't have, and few of them have ever done regular proof of reserves, which is insane to me because it's so easy with crypto. Why the hell isn't that just you can go here?
Proof of reserves actually eliminates the need for a whole class of regulatory intervention.
Yeah.
Weren't they sharing sharing balances or whatever, which similar to a lot of
smart contract could just not allow you to do any more loans until you take in more deposits, and it would.
I mean, the funny thing is, it's the same thing that the big guys do. Most of the big banks have been fined for all manner of fake deposit stuff, right? So you think about it, that's one thing, but you can do similar. And here's an interesting solution, and this is by no means to the level of detail you want, but imagine if we had, and let's say it's not even issued by a nation state. It is literally, okay, we're going to make a gold crypto or precious metal crypto, whatever, that in multiple major cities, you could have banks where you could walk in, you could maybe even touch. You could maybe, if you had certain credentials, you could even test the precious metals. They either have embedded or stamped identities. You would know, okay, I want to see the gold bar of which I hold 2 parts out of 100, right? Or something like that. You could go up and you could see it. It could all be on chain, whatever else. That, because I also own some parts of that same gold bar, I can go and look, and if it happened enough, it would be like an audit over time to know, okay, they really have that bar when I walk in and want to see mine, right? So there's some of that you could do. And
is that like the keys thing that you guys were talking about, that you guys taught me about? Like, could it be done with that mechanism, or with that?
Which one?
You know how you guys would talk about, they used to do those key party where you didn't really give your identity away, but because you could identify somebody because they had, that third party person had met the person with the brown hair in that environment.
It's similar because
key ceremony establishes a base level of trust upon which to build when you have a trusted setup required.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to maybe force them to have a trusted setup required.
Key ceremony, not key party. That's a different.
Whatever.
There's a key.
I love this idea of imposing requirements on CBDC that would either force them to design it equitably or not do it at all.
Yeah, I mean, so
level.
It's just
when I say equitably, I mean like fairly, not in the sense that people think of that word these days. Yeah. I mean in the traditional like legal sense.
Joe, when you talk about the precious metals, BIX found, they retooled the silver dollars during the Great Infection, and they put what they called it a security thing, but they put a notch or a flat spot on the silver dollars, and Bix was like, how is that a security thing? Anybody can go file a flat spot. Well, then he talked with these people and whatever and found out that you can actually, every piece of silver has its own like DNA or fingerprint that's different from every other piece of, and so you could identify each piece of silver, put it on a blockchain like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
And you could do the key party thing or whatever.
Or you can even do something really crazy and like offer the smelt value.
I'm saying it wrong, but
and issue a token out of any machine. Like
how
you put your silver coins in here,
you don't
melts them down and returns to you some digital
you say
assets.
So many potty jokes just by accident. This is that situation.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying.
So, but either way, yes, and that's why the thing that it would require is either something that is reasonably trustworthy, that people can see that it's real. It's the same thing with art. If you have a camera taking a picture of it every 30 minutes, that's at least some level of knowing that it's really still there in a museum. If I own a piece of it, right?
Here's an interesting
kind of the same with gold, but it's much better because gold is historically, something that people found ways that they can, make fake versions, and so you'd have to have some ability to have inspection. It's like I want, with a surprise notice, I want to know if this brick is
Jade
there.
Dragon is talking about just that in the chat.
Well, what if you like
watching our first scan?
Think about this. What if it was? I mean, because like one of the base things about dollar bills is you can tell by the quality of the linen that is in fact legitimate. Like if you know how to look at that, you can see the weave of it. It's the first security feature they ever came out with for that particular branded dollar, right? You could do something very similar with a cryptocurrency backed not by precious metals, but directly, but by the smelt value of the precious metal. And you could very easily have coins get minted when you withdraw it physically, and coins get smelted out of existence to get your money back out. You could actually create a consistent link between supply and the real world, and
totally.
Offline with that, you have to basically burn it in real life in order to get it online.
I would prefer that we were talking about things like that.
It's kind of an interesting idea.
Talking about, because everything is, and it's
CBDC would be a disaster for anybody who uses cash.
They only want a CBDC so they can control it to that level, because they can't control cash, right?
Yep.
They can't control cash. That is the only reason, because otherwise it's like, even
it's like where all the crime really happens.
The dollar's already digital. Why do you need a CBDC? It's like, because we can't control cash. You can still go buy cigarettes if you want to, right? Or you can still go buy milk,
right? Or we can't take all of your money if you claim to not have enough for the fine we just charged you for monitoring how much meat you were eating through your sewer pipe.
Yeah. Yes. How many bugs have you eaten today? You get bug credits.
They'll be able to tell, by the way, if you ate red meat against the law.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they've already got the bots sniffing around for viral infections in communities all over the place. Sewer bots. You got to read about them.
Throwing stuff in there. Okay, next question. Again, I am for I am.
Not even
I think
fake.
it's important. Comment is I think it's important to talk about how CBDCs are not cryptocurrencies and not necessarily on a blockchain, which is very true. Question: will the normies, either as a protest or to use a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin or some other crypto with cheap transactions to skirt the system, is this how they will get wide-scale adoption? Of course, these cryptos would then be considered gray or black market or means of exchange. So.
Dude, markets can't be created or destroyed by governments. They can only be driven into different color zones, man. That's exactly what they'll do. They'll create a black market in it if they try to outlaw it.
If I can comment on that real quick, I'd say the entire my biggest I have some OCD, right? My biggest annoyance in this world is how every goddamn subject turns into some freaking hack that I have to look up on how do I do this, because nothing is plain. Nothing is, oh, it's obvious. If I need to, do this thing in the world, obviously point A to B. Is like, nope. And as an example, that isn't government, Disney and the Fast Pass, and you look at the hacks that people's like, we get in the park and we split up and we go to different parts of the park to get the tickets, and then we come back, and it was like, is that really what? Like, why is it engineered that way? Why is it that way? And the government is entirely like that. Same with frequent flyer miles. It's like people spend their entire existence thinking about how can I do this so I can get more miles, instead of just buying the tickets and going where you want to go, which is the goddamn point of it. It's so goddamn. Why is it like that? Why? Because they want to sell that credit card to you so that they can make this other money. And it's just,
well, they're tricking you about who they're stealing the money from too.
Yeah.
Because
the financial sector basically
for
is
those credit
everything
card
they
miles
accuse crypto of being at its worst.
Absolutely.
Like if you take what Liz Warren says about it, you can just replace it with US dollars, and that's exactly what they're using it for.
And it's worse.
No, by far. He's actually fun stat. If you guys want to be cheery today, you know that something to the tune of 5,000 plus human beings who are starving to death on planet Earth today, out of the 7,000 total, happen to live in a little narrow band of land between Israel and the ocean. Like it's like a massacre there. 1/5 of the buildings have been damaged by bombs that we won't use in civilian zones in other wars.
It's the picture I saw.
It's fucking gruesome. Like we're just watching it happen right now.
Greenwald posted that they were killing journalists who flew drones.
Yeah,
and that he retweeted a post of some dude that was on top of a building, and the whole city's gone. It looks like freaking post-war Germany. It was crazy. So
anyway. And they're just pushing through the area and killing everybody. That's their plan.
Well, they call it mowing the lawn. They've been doing it for decades.
Yeah, and making rebel bounce. Right, they're probably going to take a rebel bounce pass.
It's not been this bad.
Keep sending them money,
but they do. It's called mowing the lawn, and
so
people are.
I guess an important part of this question: do you guys think that it will drive more crypto? In which case, I would say Monero. But Litecoin has some features like that. Bitcoin Cash can actually be used. So I mean, I would say
we're not using the money they tell us we have to use anymore. It's also people. Do they have any power left?
Well, that's the thing, though. It's a question of how do you get? How does a normal person get some? If they turn CBDC on and make everything else illegal, how does a normal person get those things without becoming a criminal? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean,
it's also not 19.
Black
it's
market,
also not 2015 crypto, though.
But the bulk of people aren't going to do that. They're not going to go to gray markets. They're not going to go to black markets because they're good, upstanding citizens who just want to follow the law. They're not going to do it.
Dude, but even in prisons, people learn to trade in cigarettes or packs of ramen.
You see but that takes so much time. Like we could talk about weed.
Same, crypto gets a lot more convenient.
Took like
given
what,
the alternatives.
70 years from when they started, or more, from when they outlawed it to now, where it's not the worst thing in the world. There's so many health benefits for it. And Lisa knows a lot more about that than I do. But the fact that it was, the cotton industry or whoever that actually thwarted it back in the day, it took so long, and there's so many people who are in prison for like massive amounts of time. So yes, it will eventually, the market will fix things, but the amount of time and cost is like, it's so bad.
Right. It'd be way better if we could prevent all the state violence against civilians that will be about to happen if we just go into it blindly.
Yep. So, okay. Anything else to add to that? Because that's the last question.
Yeah.
Before we move to.
I think we covered it.
Okay, and I think we got current events and.
That said, if you want to talk more solutions, I've got like 15 other really good lawfare ideas that would be useful at a local, even level.
If somebody would even want a separate show on that, I would participate too, because I in fact think we should have some series where
we have so much
here's
accessible
one
power
problem
we don't use.
Let's get all of the components for a solution. Not that we'll like say this is the solution, but to say where we would just have a call
like
that we would
brainstorming solutions.
Yeah, and just
we start talking about solutions on, like Greg just said, a more local level.
Yes.
That's the big deal. That's when, just if you're doing it on a local level and people are understanding it in your local community, then it's, you don't even have to really think about state and federal or world. It's it's that adoption's there because the understanding is there.
I didn't get to show the my $5 billion. Is it $5 billion note? Yeah, $5 billion note.
Joe's buying dinner.
Yeah, it's $5 billion right here.
We'll get you half a dry kidney bean and a thimble of water.
I was watching.
And I do have my buy Bitcoin stamp. If you guys don't have a buy, you should get a buy Bitcoin stamp and stamp your dollar.
I actually got some dollars with buy Bitcoin on it. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Oh,
I was watching Peacemaker last night, and it's when he first gets out of the hospital and jail and all, and he's in an Uber or he's in a cab, and he only has money from the country that he was at.
Oh, cool.
In Suicide Squad, and he's like, "Hey man, you look like a gambler. Here, this is 80,000 whatever from this country." He goes, "It could be worth 50 cents. It could be worth $1 million." And the cab driver's like, "That's not worth $1 million, dude." But it did. I thought it was funny, because of what you said.
Okay, so I would like, so we're going to start the current events and memes. So I'm going to throw some memes up, and we'll maybe do something more formalized next time. If maybe if somebody posts memes into the thread, we'll throw those. Otherwise, I'll just try to throw stuff up while we're talking. So we'll just keep going on, and we'll see maybe some of them will land and make contextual sense with the conversation. I have no idea. I tried to filter them, so hopefully there's not anything too offensive in there, but they're not all. I didn't make these memes.
Offend me.
So. Yeah, we'll see. And I kind of want to say, let's start with, what's the list of things we want to cover? And I'm going to cut it. I'm going to make sure we cut it early enough that we don't go over this week. Sorry about that, last week. But over the 2-hour mark. But so what do we want? We want to talk about Coinbase, SEC probably.
Yeah, we got to mention Milei's speech, man, before the WEF.
Speech. I didn't get to watch it.
I don't think they wanted that when they signed him up.
It was
like a speech from Atlas Shrugged. It was fantastic.
I think I have the 47 seconds of Trump saying he will not allow a CBDC last night.
Okay. Well, okay, because it's and there's so the Trump CBDC, which is perfectly appropriate for this one, right? So is there anything else we want to include?
Dude, Assange's hearing is coming out. We probably should mention that.
Okay, so
mute myself.
3 or 4 things. So let's start with what? You want to start with Trump CBDC, and I'll throw this up.
Well, I guess Lisa can get that ready.
Oh, if she can share it, I'll throw it up there.
I was talking about the. Remember, I said there's going to be a clash with Texas troops, or even and it's going to have to happen. They went in there, they kicked out all the federal agents, and
let's just start with that one.
And they took it over, and they took over Eagle Pass, and they're like, "You're not allowed in this area." They're like, "We're the authority here." They're like, "No, you're not," and they back down 100%. I don't know if that's going to keep going.
There was an ultimatum last night, and I don't know how that turned out. Like they said that they had to allow them in by some period yesterday evening or something, but I don't know if anything happened.
I'm totally a moderate, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
Some of those things I'm chill with. Some I'm not.
That's a classic one. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
See, that one might be offensive. I didn't want to.
Wait, watching. Oh my god! Well,
Do you know what he had?
What he said was
metal
obvious
bonded to
insanity
his
or
teeth
performance art. I'm not
for
sure
like
there's a
$1
difference
million
for that dude.
bucks. It was like $875,000, and he got like some kind of metal put on his teeth, grafted to his teeth.
That dude is,
Wow.
either putting everybody on in the biggest, one guy laughing at the joke Andy Kaufman bit ever, or
Andy Kaufman,
or he's absolutely certifiably insane. Either way,
yeah, we won't talk about it. I'll see.
Oh my god!
I mean, that one was pretty funny. So,
Mm.
like, well,
Very funny.
Okay. It's offensive, maybe, but it's very funny.
Dude, no.
Anyway, I think these are now. I'll probably into less as I go back. There'll be less topical. So, okay. So first thing, Texas. What's going to happen though? Are they going to let him in the end? Is he going to give up or?
I don't think so. I really don't. Like maybe they'll agree to something to save face. Like, hey, just let us in. It will show us coming in, but you're in charge, and we won't do anything. And which would be even better, because then we can, really publicize that they're bowing to it and they're following our direction. But yeah, I think this is part of a big deal, where the world can see that states can stand on their own, and that's how it is. And honestly, I it was rude, because the governor said, screw you, Arizona, screw you, New Mexico. This is Texas. We care about Texans. And that's kind of what we needed. And also, they've said this a few times, but Florida is sending troops to Texas. And just that phrase
I didn't know
is
that.
very odd. They're to help with the border, but that's it.
This was always the plan in
true.
case anyone tried to get us to be good Germans, though.
What?
Right?
Wait,
the
what?
U.S. was always going to be a little bit more rebellious than the German people were when it came to being pressured into becoming complicit with an evil empire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Although,
I mean, they've imported a lot of other people. So it's hard to say.
I don't think those people are as on their side as they think they are.
Oh, see, I'll try to skip over anything that's too much. This one is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's
DEI, DIE, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so
psychiatric disabilities.
Okay, how about then we talk about Trump and CBDC? So, do you guys think that he because he said that?
Wouldn't you be liable, Greg, if you're pushing to hire people with a psychiatric disability?
Of course there were, but there's no law.
Well, if you want to finagle it such that you can turn a blind eye to it, the agency responsible for enforcing that is in fact a federal government agency, right? Like they can just turn a blind eye.
Yeah, there is no law. Right?
Or they can selectively enforce it against people who get out of line in that agency, right? Like it's not punishment, it's punishment by us accusing you of what we're all doing to you.
Yep. I can't. I don't have Telegram on this box, so if you have a link, if you have a link to it, it'd be better.
I don't have a link to it. It's just in my photos.
The Twitter.
I will have to.
I could put it on Twitter and then.
Share. Yeah, I'll have to unshare stuff and.
I have to figure out which one.
Reshare stuff. Man, there's so many of these. So many of these are about a particular. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Holy shit.
Dude, that's Nosferatu. Why doesn't it literally you put them side by side?
I'm sorry.
Pulling that guy out.
This one's a good one. All right, so I'll pull that up if you can send the chat. I know I have it somewhere as well in
I
my Twitter feed. I saw it. I didn't listen to it because I was like, sure, you're gonna say there's going to be you're gonna stop all CBDCs.
Well, I don't think he's even going to be president. I don't think we're going to get there. So I don't know that it matters that he said it, but
well, I mean, either we're getting there or we're not going to have, you know, the same form of government anymore, man.
Oh,
I don't think people are going to take that.
Yeah,
that's possible.
I believe that.
If he doesn't lose in a suddenly even contest, because they're still going to throw everything. Worst case scenario or best case scenario, they throw all the propaganda machine at us again.
I thought it was crazy
information warfare against the populace.
The way that the reporters acted after he won in New Hampshire or in Iowa, that it was insane. The things they were saying. They're talking about. I can't. I mean, I wasn't alive back in the days when fascist regime came to power, but it seemed that way. They were literally talking about, oh yeah, Iowa because they're evangelical Christians. Yeah, they're the terriblest people. Oh, that's what we got to stop. And they're like, Iowa's 63% evangelical Christians, and then the U.S. is only 43%. So
it's amazing how they still haven't figured out they shouldn't insult the people that are that they're trying to persuade.
But they were. I mean, the things that they were saying were horrible. I mean, it was. I know. It was terrible.
I have it. If you guys want to hear it.
Demonization. It was
straight dehumanization.
Yeah,
you hear that sort of thing in the setup for some train cars rolling up.
That's the point I always try to make, man. That dehumanization is the first and you have to have it because we're hardwired to not want to kill each other.
That's what we did. Or that's what we stood by and what happened in Gaza, for example, right?
The only way to do that is to dehumanize whatever.
When the naval commander of the Israeli fleet said we're not letting through medicine, water, or food anymore.
Yeah,
and we're shutting off the internet and electricity.
Yeah.
Incidentally, like a day before Warren claimed that Bitcoin and crypto was funding Hamas, they turned off all the power on the internet. So, pretty amazing feat they got going on there. If they were in fact.
All right, so I'll play this real quick, then we'll.
Tonight, I'm also making another promise to protect Americans from government tyranny. As your president, I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. You know about that? Ooh. I didn't know you know so much. I'm very well. New Hampshire, very smart people, very current. You know what they're doing. Such a currency would give a federal government, our federal government, the absolute control over your money. They could take your money. You wouldn't even know it was gone. This would be a dangerous threat to freedom, and I will stop it from coming to tonight. I'm also.
All right.
I mean, he straight up says tyranny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also he's been talking to Vivek Ramaswamy. He's been his ear on it for sure.
That's I think one of the big things is remember when he was first asked about Bitcoin.
Vivek got called out for his involvement in the.
He hates to say I don't know, and he was like,
Big
"Well,
pharma.
I don't really like the Bitcoin because of this and that." But you could tell it's just I don't really know, and I think he just found out about how bad it is.
He's not going to win anyway. So, Trump. I think Trump's going to win this one. Honestly, I'm optimistic.
I'll be impressed when he calls out.
That's some.
Yeah, because the Fed is the tyrannical that already took the money.
They already do this. They already have.
Did when he put the Fed under the Treasury. That's what he
I don't know
corrected.
If I believe any of that. It's like
if he says he won't let him have a CBDC,
and now it's eating itself.
If he's thought about it at all, he just dog whistled the Fed pretty hard right there.
Yeah.
I
think the statement is a huge thing, just to make that statement like that.
Because I'm guessing the digital currency part isn't what freaks him out, just like it shouldn't freak anybody else out, right? It's the central bank.
My problem is he said in the past when he has commented on Bitcoin, it wasn't even that he's an old dude and he doesn't like Bitcoin. He's like, what's the news there? It is that he's all about the U.S. dollar, and I'm like, it's like when you realize what the U.S. dollar is, it's like it's not good.
But think about
it's a transferable brand.
When he said that, he was also the president of. He's supposed to be about the U.S. dollar publicly.
But you say that I disagree though, because the Fed is not.
The Fed is not the U.S. Okay, I agree with that. That's true. But the other thing is, if he goes and says he likes anything, then oh, the libtards go crazy against it. So it's almost like he has to be, yes, that.
Well, they've already got war on raising an anti-crypto army, so like
he can have people start
hopefully it
having
coaxes her into
conversation
the
for
fight, man.
themselves by
It's always fun to watch her
being
get kicked in the
like
head by that
ambiguous
guy.
about it or making a
That
statement.
meme right there that you have up,
I'm not a fan.
that is one of the biggest red pills that I've noticed that I use, because you can tell anyone. You just ask them how many buildings, two, and you can tell them you were there, you were watching it happen. There was a third, and people are like, no, there's not. Then you show them, there's so much scrub from the internet. There's barely much on it, and then they're like, I don't remember this. I kind of maybe no. I was like, why?
Dude, old stuff is hard to find on the internet anymore.
I will say I heard something this week that I had never heard about that. And it was like, oh, it's a theory. I don't know. It makes very good sense that the third plane that was supposed to go to the White House, they were saying that its arrival time would have been right before they actually manually took down 7. That they think that it might have been intended to be the third plane to fake that, and when it didn't happen, it's like, oh well, shit, we have all those records in the 7th building. We need to go and drop it so that we can pretend that that file. I think it was the Enron filing, something with the SEC. Imagine that. In World Trade Center.
I wonder what the equatable difference between whatever that lost while they custodied it and whatever they pumped into the 9/11's victim fund.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'd be an interesting question to ask if I were going to go down a rabbit hole. Not suggesting that I haven't investigated that one at all. I know there's weirdnesses to it. I'm not willing to concede yet that they don't have perfectly rational, mundane explanations that they just don't want to admit. We have detonation devices in the towers that we didn't want to tell anybody we had to blow because it was going to kill people, but we had to save everybody else on the street.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. Like, you just don't want the building to fall over on everybody else.
When you really look into it and with open eyes now, you're like, it's so obvious who did it and why they did it and what the effect was. And the only thing that's really surprising is that they were able to trick people for as long as they did. That's the thing.
And we totally blamed our government, but we blamed it for the wrong fact pattern, right? Like, we should have said that our Mossadegh policy in Iran caused all that. If we could rewind to the 50s and uncoup that nation, then none of this shit would have ever happened.
Yeah. So
Jay Dragon brought up the was watching All in the Family, and
yes,
needed a surgery for $350. Now it's like $20K. Having been in
Terminators to go after the neocons
a couple of months ago, it got my bills. It's a whole different. It's the scam, because
1982.
My bill for what they needed, and then I was like $50,000, and then I had a bill just for pharmaceutical. It was $50,000 also, and I had a bill for labs, and it was $50,000 also, and they were doing blood work on me every day. They were testing for stuff, and you don't question it when it's going on. Like, oh, we should want to test this, every morning. Why? You only need to test this once a month. It's my INR.
It's not going to change that one day.
But you don't question it. And back in the day, they did medical shit that you needed or that they needed. Now it's about money. I was getting prescribed new stuff every day. There was a drug that just came out. Boom, let's do that. The price of it was like $1,000 a pill. It was nuts. And I was like, why does the doctor keep giving me different freaking prescriptions every day? So like, how you feeling? Oh, I'm okay, but I have an itch on my back. Can you scratch it? No problem. And I also prescribed this for that itch. And literally every day there was something, whether it was a cream or powder or whatever. And then when I got the bill, I was like, oh, all of these costs every time they did a lab work or they did a blood work or whatever, that was a huge fee. And with the for-profit system, it's like the prison system. It's let's jack things up. We'll make money everywhere we can. It's the bean counters. The bean counters got a hold of the medical industrial complex from back there in the 70s and 80s. And that's why things are so much more expensive.
The bean counters only have that power because of Wall Street. They need They need the numbers
It's
so
not
that the
about the
stock can
vote.
go
It's
up.
about who counts the vote.
And it's all, again, it's all Fed. If without the Fed, none of that would even be there. So, okay. So what else? We have Coinbase and the SEC.
Coinbase. Beautiful.
Who can comment on that thoroughly? I mean, I've been reading it. I've been enjoying what I've been reading. There's some brilliant stuff. That judge apparently knows what she's talking about.
People are saying that she might have some stock.
She complimented the DeFi people's brief. So I assume somebody working for a pro DeFi group submitted an amicus brief that was especially well written.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a copy of it if anybody knows what it is, because I want to read it.
Yeah, I just know, the things that they're saying. I mean, they called out things that we've been saying for years now, that the rules that they are trying to say are the rules would effectively call out Beanie Babies and baseball cards. And
about the only thing it doesn't go after
Pokemon
the actual scams.
Yeah, and so it's an interesting thing, and video games. They didn't even bring that up, and that's in our argument that it's an unworkable thing, and we don't have equal protection. They're coming after
didn't
us
buy fucking crypto motors
because either Elbow Joe pointed at Dragonchain. Thank you, Ethereum
contract. I wanted to drive in the metaverse,
or because we came out of Disney or some other reason. But it's kind of crazy that they're coming after us, because we're pretty obviously and pretty transparently software and a utility token. And Jay Clayton even described pretty much our model in front of Congress when he was the man. And at the end of his little description of what a utility token would be like, he said, and none of these crypto companies, none of these crypto projects are that. And I'm like, we are. Right? It's like and they're coming after us. It's crazy stuff. So.
And they picked out people who had especially powerful use cases and on well-developed teams that were likely to succeed if they left them alone. Yeah. That's the thing.
And our saving grace,
obviously designed to target people actually capable of building.
Our saving grace, literally, God bless Ripple and all of the people on the XRP army and Coinbase in this matter. I mean, library lost because they didn't have enough money to get the right lawyers, right? Mm-hmm. That's essentially what it was. I literally have had to deal with.
Still can't believe we let them go unfunded for their appeal.
White shoe lawyers, right? So like the big, we've had big firms representing us. And I realized that one of the firms is literally on, and they were giving us advice. They wanted us to shut down. Their advice to us that they tried to charge us
kill your evil business
was to just shut down. It's like,
right, but how many of those partners are going to go work for the SEC after Gary Gensler retires? Right?
Well, how many of them already do? They're already on the Ethereum Alliance. They already are in
probably being represented by the ALJ who's going to judge your case, right?
Yeah. So it's really kind of scary, and that's why I say there is no law. I mean, they're going to crucify me. I have little doubt they're going to.
Joe, they're not going to crucify you. We're not going to let them crucify you.
I think they're going to. I think that's what's coming.
Not the crucify me first, man. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like it's a crazy thing. Anyway, okay. So
I heard that the Coinbase thing that they that the SEC led in their summary with like their weakest point, which was oh gosh, how did they say it? Like that they had never approved both a exchange and a what was the other thing? Like the Wall Street thing and the oh gosh, what am I trying to say? The two sides of it, the exchange and the wallet kind of thing. And the judge kind of walked him right into, well, are you saying that there's a law against that or not to do that? And he's like, no, it's just we haven't done that before. And so it was it was kind of interesting where the judge really kind of walked them into admitting some of the things that don't exist, and that really this is that cryptocurrency or blockchain is different than the Howey test.
Right.
I thought it was
not
interesting.
A criminal offense to surprise a bureaucrat.
Well, and then there was this conversation about, that, they always talk about the investment contract or whatever. But when you read the Howey test, it really doesn't say investment contract. It talks about things in an investment contract or what creates an investment contract, but it doesn't mention investment.
The apple trees themselves were not securities.
Right.
It was the investment contract.
Coinbase is saying they facilitate
the chunks of land weren't.
Connection between two wallets, and that's a secondary exchange. That's not the initial investment in that company to the first person that has any kind of promise or and there's no way to get the repercussion in. So when you like get shares in whatever Apple or whatever, when you have stake in a company, you have rights that you can sue that company, you can whatever, but with coins or tokens, you don't have any repercussion against those companies if they were to go belly up.
No
or
obligation.
Yeah. Well, I think part of our problem too is we defined early on the word smart contract to include the word contract. Like when in reality, it probably should have been something more like smart regulator.
Right. It's two separate things.
I would just make up entirely new words for it because even that would cause other problems, you know?
You could replace.
You can't create your own regulatory agency, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Right. But you could have them have had a lot harder fight all along if we hadn't worked the word contract into the name of this software function that doesn't happen to create an investment contract at all. It's a software functionality for blockchain. The word smart contract is a term of art, not a literalism, right?
Oh yeah.
And they played off of that to set the stage, right? Like if we had not called it a smart contract and called it something more literal,
we should make it a religion.
Made it a count.
Smart programmatic agreement, and I do agree. Let's please make these just we all believe in this stuff.
We believe though, Joe. I think it's our religion, and then we just get to take it all out of their hands.
Yeah, maybe that might be the way to go. I mean, geez, I mean, you imagine if and there are several religions in the world that go further than what some people think of as a religion, where it becomes worldview and philosophy on top of religion. And why not include forms of payment in that definition?
The way you exchange,
right? It's a special case commodity that also has some religious undertones to it.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's our religion.
It's like a spiritual relic, in a way.
Yes,
just not an NFT. It's a fungible spiritual relic.
Yep. And by the way, I don't know how these are organized. I pulled some out that I thought weren't too offensive.
Oh my goodness!
Hopefully that's not the case. But so if you guys have any ideas out there in the audience for better ways to arrange these, I'm on game. So, yeah. So, okay. What else? What other current events? When is the war starting? Or when is the hot war starting?
The hot war is not going to start until.
So what do you call the hot war? The third fake war?
Until we preemptively strike Iran
the Taiwan
by continuing under the ruse that the Houthis are somehow linked to them in any other way than moral support.
That's what they're trying to do. I don't know if they're going to.
No, I know they're going to try to airstrike Iran. If they succeed,
they tried to
they'll get
do
a
that
hot
with
war.
Russia too. They really wanted a war with Russia, and it didn't.
Yeah, but all they have to do is spend like a few more months repeating Iranian-backed Houthis, and people will not be able to understand the idea that that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And at that point, they can just claim that they're bombing the people behind the people who are pestering us.
But also, I mean, I said this last week or before when I noticed that it's Iranian back.
Fun fact about Yemen: did you know that's like the world's international hub of arms dealing? I think their weapons from Iran, they buy them like down the street at the place where all the warlords.
When we say that that's wrong, that the Houthis are completely wrong. We should be able to go after Iran. But what are we doing in Ukraine? What is NATO doing in Ukraine? I mean, that's literally. I mean, it's like good for the goose, good for the gander. We can't say shit about Iran backing these people. They're the ones doing the action. If we're engaged in this huge proxy war with Russia, then you can't say shit about Iran being engaged in a proxy war with us.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, can you imagine if somebody flipped the script here over in the United States? Like, let's play a scenario out here. Let's say we're like hanging out here as the United States, and we discover that let's say Mexico is going to take out Panama, just like clean them out because they need room for settlers or whatever, right? Do you think we would be especially inclined to not get involved if we found out later that like some country across the ocean was meddling with this to make it possible for them to achieve it?
That depends. Is there an APPAC?
It's like all the countries surrounding Ukraine right now. Like they have to decide what to do with their neighbor, and we're like over here.
And I guess maybe it'd be better.
Forget that these places are
the
close.
answer to your question is: would we do that? It depends if that country has a number of dual citizens in our Congress, or if they are paying off a lot of our elected representatives and probably regulators. Then yeah, we probably would. And that's the biggest problem. Right.
It's a huge
infinite money, and dual or uncertain loyalties for people in power. If you have people in power that happen to also have citizenship and kinship or some affinity towards some other country, it's really dangerous. Even if there's nothing wrong with that other country, it
just reminds me so much of how, like, Afghanistan was where bin Laden went to hang out. The Saudis basically funded them, and so we invade Iraq. Like it's similar. Like we attacked Iran, it would be sort of like that.
Yeah,
it would just be complete neocon bullshit misdirection.
To the
Cheney part two.
I'll say Rothschild. I don't know if that's who. I have no idea who's actually in power with all that stuff. But the central bank stuff, and when Assad, they wanted to take out Assad. They did take out Gaddafi. They did take out Hussein. Do you guys subscribe to that? That essentially one of these countries wants to get out of the racket that is the dollar and or a certain type, I guess.
If I were them, I would totally want out.
That's what I said earlier. That people always say it's about oil. It's about oil. All the Gaddafi literally was like our best friend. Iran, we used to be super close with. We created the problem that we have now. But them, Iraq, and a lot of other countries that we have problems with. But Libya is like when Gaddafi's the most blatant. Because he came out and said, hey, we really want to move away from the dollar because we have a lot of gold and oil. And we want to back our currency with our wealth. And it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks from when he said that to when he was the worst enemy of the United States. But it wasn't like there's, just some guy, just some country. Like we were buddies. And then he said that. And within 2 weeks, we had to kill him. It was so obvious.
Yep. That's what happens. Supposedly there's something even with Kennedy, and I don't know if it's one of the 3-letter agencies that he wanted to take down, or if it was the Fed. And I don't actually.
It was probably
it's that letter.
It was probably the head of the
Rumsfeld
letter. The director of national intelligence guy, right? It was the Anslinger guy. Was that his name?
DNI. I don't know.
Hang on, let me see.
I don't know.
He got a letter.
This is head of the CIA under Kennedy.
Rumsfeld, right before they killed him. That he wanted the Zionists to register as foreign agents, and they said, and Rumsfeld said, that's going to upset people.
Yeah,
and then they killed him. Or did he fake his death?
Well, something I didn't know about is that reactor, Dimone, the reactor that they were trying to build, and that Kennedy was calling for inspections because he was trying to get some type of an arms agreement to quell the production, nuclear weapons around the world, proliferation, right? And he was trying to get it, and everybody that he was going to was telling him, was like, well, why aren't you doing anything about Israel, right? And he said, so he went to Israel and said, we have to do something. We have to get inspections. We have to, no question. They delayed, but then when he finally said it's going to happen, Ben Gurion, if I pronounce that right, the first prime minister, apparently resigned, and super surprise resignation, but it delayed it further. And by the time it came around, they were able to delay with a new prime minister, and then Kennedy was gone, and it was just like a blank check from Johnson to go ahead and produce your nuclear weapons. And that's
so there's a whole theory about
argument.
the nuclear sites being a cover for the bioweapon testing on children and all of that. Like when the thing happened in what was the one in where all the disfigured children came out and whatever, but none of the animals were harmed.
In jeez, what's the name of the? It's in the Ukraine. It's in Russia. It was in Russia.
Yeah, and now Hunter's been linked to a bunch of these like big pharma bioweapon kind of
Metabiota or something like that.
I think Hunter's going down because the mainstream media, both sides, are starting to call out because they're playing where Trump's
kind of small potatoes right now.
I know if it ends at Hunter, that's a cover. That's a patsy that took the hit.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be, but I think he is going to go down.
I mean, they are actively engaged in trying to jail the leading opponent in the opposite political party right now.
They showed when Trump
like fucking Banana Republic bullshit.
Was saying, your son did this, your son got this from these people and that people, and it was absolute. Joe said, no, he never got that. No, there was no money from these people. No, there was no money from those people. And now reporters are like, that wasn't true. That's an actual lie, which they never say that. So once again, I think it's a definite win for justice.
Yeah, I don't know. Why did he record everything? It's crazy. There's something weird about, and I don't think it's just I think there's a reason he was recording everything.
I mean, it feels kind of like, honestly, it feels patsy-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
It does. It reminds me way too much of SBF, the crypto guy that they set up to be the crypto guy, so that they can.
Yeah, but the elites have been sacrificing their children for years. That's part of it.
The whole Eyes Wide Shut thing. That's what that's about, and that's just bizarre because
I never saw that movie.
It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's probably why I didn't see it.
So a lot of movies. Let's see here. Dulles? Were you talking about Dulles, Greg? He was
Dulles. That's the guy I was thinking of. I said Esslinger, but that was actually the drug policy guy underneath.
And he hated Kennedy. I can't remember why.
Right, because he didn't include him in his administration. He basically got a big fat civil service bureaucrat demotion. He kicked him out of the deep state.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
and they named an airport after him.
Then as soon as he was dead, he was the head of the commission that investigated.
And Sirhan, who supposedly killed Robert Kennedy, was what nationality?
Sirhan.
I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be Palestinian.
Sounds Armenian.
Yeah. Sirhan.
Not that where he's from.
There's a bunch of people getting their prostate worked on. Speaking of that meme. Lately, that I wonder if they're doing some other things to them, if they're sterilizing them.
Secretary of Defense. There were rumors that he was dead, that he was killed in Ukraine and stuff.
And Prince Charles is also today getting his junk worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Huh.
Nope.
The ATF meme. That's pretty cool.
May the rubber gloves be cold, damn it.
This dog meme. It's like, this is it's a sad thing, but it's the truth, and it's bizarre. Anyway,
that's actually really fucked up. They do.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, hide your dog if somebody swats you.
Well,
because there's a good chance they'll just kill it while they're talking to you after all the commotion's over. Like,
that's sick.
They can get away with it typically.
Yep.
Although you can sue if you're willing to stick it out. They will, like most cities, will not look kindly, but you have to, be willing to deal with a lot of local politics if you want to try it.
Yeah. So I don't know, for some reason, and I will say most of these I've gotten from 4chan, so apologies, there's any over the line or anything, but some of them I get from Twitter occasionally. I've made a few recently myself. They're never to the level of some of these, but this one's brilliant. This meme here, it's like so funny. Anyway,
They forgot us in all that.
Yeah, that's how that works. What else happened this week? We have more time than I would expect.
The Melee thing, man. We have to talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
He gave. That is just. I mean, I wish there was time to play the whole thing because it's so beautiful. But like, go watch that shit if you haven't seen it yet. It was like, fucking Melee gave every entrepreneur on earth the high five that they've fucking deserved from every other government that they've never gotten.
I don't know. I like some of what he says, but at the same time, he has said some things that are so questionable that either a lot of what I hear that I like is fake, or there's a really strange intersection of philosophies that I could see some philosophies saying and believing some things, whereas the rest of everything they're about, I totally disagree with.
You might
bizarre.
You also have to sort of challenge the information space too, right? Like to the extent we can unravel what's been told secondhand. It's hard too, from what he's said directly, pull any particular assumptions other than this particular speech, which was like basically him yelling a speech from Atlas Shrugged into Klaus Schwab's fat face.
Yep.
It was fantastic.
That's cool. Yeah, and I overall I support him. Just like I don't believe that Trump is going to do the things that he should do. He didn't pardon Assange, and he didn't do anything with the Fed. He didn't do so many things that were far more important than building part of a wall. Which building part of a wall is a huge thing, and I
put the Fed in the Treasury.
We didn't go to war.
We just haven't seen the full effects of it because it's eating itself right now.
Well, I hope, maybe it'll be there for when if he wins or something, right? I don't know.
I don't think he's gonna win. I think that's where we're just like rolling out the movie for him.
I don't know, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to leave it on that.
I think he wins, or there's not, the United States as we know it anymore, right? Like, I don't think people are just going to take that. Voters will try to take back their authority. If they're denied the opportunity to take back their authority, then I don't know what happens, but it won't be good.
Yeah.
Like this acknowledges a profound distrust of our institutions of power.
Yeah,
this will not.
We should. That is where we should be. We shouldn't be trusting them. I mean, when we're hearing $400 million goes to Red Cross, and people are putting their Christmas money in a little bucket every year and thinking they're saving people.
They've earned every ounce of contempt that we've got for them, and then some.
They shouldn't trust them.
No, absolutely, I agree. I totally agree. I think they've literally, absolutely lost every ounce of credibility they could possibly lose for good reason. And the only thing that's galling about it is, for some reason, they're still getting away with this with like 40% of the population, 30% of the population, pretending like everybody who doesn't agree with them is a stupid idiot who's also a terrorist, is still working on like 30% of people.
Yeah,
but it's like getting less effective the more they repeat it.
It is, and I know people in my family that are not awake to it, and they don't believe it. But the worst part is they won't look. You can tell them you can look up on your own, read MK Ultra. I
got to dump out. I got frozen.
You don't have to go to 4chan or anything. We don't have a Discord server, JDragon. We have din.social. So if you go din.social, I think /WBRT, that's this show, and you can get ownership in it, so you can so we can all get together and collude to make Greg wear funny hats or something, right? Yes. So
or inject yourself into a topic. You can literally bring yourself on the show with enough people voting for you.
Yes. I am amazed. There was a dude that had a whole video on how and why he's creating relearning the art and creating a
how-to.
guillotine.
I feel like
Oh.
that thing is so slow, though.
And it was actually really pretty interesting that he was doing that. And I was like, wow. He said, I'm building this not because I'm expecting to use it, but because if I need to use it, I want it to be there, right? It's something like that. It was pretty brilliant. So, anything else? I don't know.
The way that we'll get them in the end is by completely ignoring any attempts they make to be taken seriously from here out. We could just stop paying attention to them and they'd be gone.
Well, and I just wonder, I mean, there's so much stuff going on in the world so fast now. And I don't know, what's coming this year. I guess that's what if we all, real quick round of opinion here. 2024, it's an election year, right? So before the election, what are we to expect? Is it going to be riots a la 2020? Or is it going to be false flag terrorist attacks? Is a nuke going to go off somewhere in the country or the world? What are we to expect? Because I have to
think there's a fair chance they'll start an aggressive preemptive war guaranteed to disrupt domestic politics.
Yeah.
Like they've already got the carriers over there. Why not just hit the button?
Yes. This, by the way, this quote is key to everything here.
Best to eat it all. There might be some left over for our opponents when we're gone otherwise.
Courage is a much rarer attribute than intelligence. That you can have people who are super smart who actually even see, and they might deny that they see it. They can see what the solution is. They can see what they could do, and they don't, right?
I think it's even worse. I think the more intelligent people are, the easier they can fool themselves and they can rationalize it.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that I'm dumb. I can be here building this stuff.
You're in that sweet spot where you're like, I can't quite fool myself. I
do think it's a bell curve thing. So I do think that like the for whatever reason, the dumbest people and the smartest people didn't get their gingivitis jab, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the same thing across the board. I think you have that in a lot of other areas where, and by the way, they push that. That's why if you go into some of those forums, you will see the most ridiculous stuff. And I'm not going to say, flat earth theory, certain types of numerology, certain types of things that will make people look like they are crazy, even though oftentimes there's very interesting stuff in there. It's fun to look at any of it, but it's known that they come in and that they do that.
Well, it's more of an identity group or a club than it is really a belief system, right? It doesn't really matter if they believe it or not. What matters is they deny that they will ever believe in anything else. That's how you're in the in group, right?
Yeah, and
it's just a club. People should just leave their little club alone.
I'm amazed that's true. I'm just amazed at the amount of there are jokers and there are people who are trolling and there's a lot of other stuff, but
I mean, not appointing any to NASA, but like
mixed into that though is a lot of really stuff that I'm like kind of makes taken aback often by what I read, that some of these people are what I would say are our best modern philosophers, and they're anonymous and they're posting stuff that when you actually read, is like, holy I've never thought about it from that angle. And when I look at it from that angle, it's enlightening. Whether I might not believe it, but
it's interesting to hear what other people think.
Yeah. So, and some of it is not related to the physical earth. It's about other dimensions. It's about, there's some there that I almost have adopted as well as I can in terms of like there was one anon that wrote up an entire thing about how interesting it is in this realm, in this reality that we find ourselves in, that everything is so legalistic. And it really hits home with me having been in crypto because I'm a software guy. I love software. I like solving problems with software. That's what I do. And I took it upon myself to like, okay, I'm going to have to do this because I understand it and I know this works, right? And I never expected that I would have wished that I would have taken law, or that I would have been a lawyer, or that I had to understand the intricacies and the bullshit involved with the stuff with common law and with the way that the precedents and everything, the way it works, which is totally illogical and bullshit. And it's just like, that's the way we've always done it. And I would have never expected to have to get into that world. And it really kind of pisses me off. And so when I read this and he's talking about essentially, I've heard this before, the reason for totalitarianism. I think Ron Paul even said this, that you have to have laws that people don't know they're breaking, because you have to be able to go and tap them whenever you want to tap them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you broke this law, and it's like, I didn't know. Everybody breaks. It's like, you broke it. Doesn't matter if anybody else does.
Right, in their darkest dark of hearts, they would probably start filing Beanie Baby cases over at the SEC if they got the right ruling.
Totally.
And I don't think that this judge in the Coinbase case is completely rejected the absurd notion, because
it's beautiful. Well, and that's why. But see,
you absolutely can do stuff to make your baseball cards more valuable.
That in this massive stratification, all these like laws that are just stacked on top of each other, there are paths unknown. And I say unknown to us, the normal people, the people that wrote them, and more importantly, the people that paid to have those laws written, know the pathway that the law doesn't apply to them. Why? Oh, because here's stuff you didn't know about, and it's really kind of
right. And while there's a retainer on K Street, there's a way.
I was talking to my son about Pokemon cards and about Beanie Babies, which we always bring up. But there's some Pokemon cards that are worth $150,000 or maybe even $1 million. And I was asking, I was like, what about the company that like makes the cards? Like, they have to have warehouses full of these packs that go for like $10,000 unopened pack or something. Because you have a chance to get the 100,000 or the whatever card. I was like, they literally could control the market. They could manipulate if they need more profits. They could, could open some themselves and sell it on a secondary.
And
market.
There's no transparency. There's no way to know, right?
First, claim their criminal proceeds. They can just take them.
Also, they had an issue. I think it was.
Unless they're on chain,
a couple years ago. It wasn't that long ago where they had an issue where some of the workers in those factories were actually pulling the rare ones and selling them on their own. So the people getting packs didn't even have a chance to get them. They were all going to
like the McDonald's. Remember the McDonald's monopoly scam?
Yep. And we tried to bring up, it's like, hey guys, we have a solution. And guess what? And this is why I hate all the bullshit hype. It prevents those real solutions from happening, because they won't talk to a crypto company. It's like, fuck that shit. It's all scams. We're in an upstanding.
They've run the fucking PR campaign well against us. They really have.
Yeah,
that's why
that's
why you don't go on like. See,
they did it for free, Craig. I mean, we freaking ran. I say we. I didn't. Freaking crypto Twitter ran that marketing for them.
No, okay? I know they do. They do. They refuse to commit to a true struggle against an external adversary. That's the difference between us now and the original cypherpunks. We are failing miserably at recognizing a prompt to either fight them in court and win unapologetically, or forever fall. Right? Like, they're gonna come try to take it from us. And if we don't get a judge to rule definitively, no, you can't. Like, if we just give in, which is what we've been doing, throwing each other under the fucking bus, engaging in maximalism, tribal purity tests, like all this shit is what we're doing wrong. When we can very simply look them square in the eye and say, you know what? We don't care what you say. Issue your decree taking all of my crypto from me. Good luck getting my public key. It wouldn't take long of watching that start to happen at scale for the whole thing to truly just tip. If everybody just said, you know what? I've moved all of my assets into something that you'll have to beat out of me if you're lucky, and I'm going to resist.
Yep.
And you can come and have it for the prison you're going to throw me in, as soon as you can get me to give up my key. And if enough people did that, they just sort of go away.
I say that all the time, this meme, but I add in, and nobody went to jail. So now
nobody went to jail.
And nobody went to jail. So
I will say that we will know when things are moving in the right. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. And by the way, I'm not advocating violence. I'm not advocating anything, even in Minecraft. But we'll know when stuff is moving in the right direction. When the typical comment is, "Why aren't these people in jail yet?" Right? So it's like you commit treason, you steal money from millions of people, you kill people, you're conducting human trafficking of children.
No, there's too much. If you just betray the trust that people put in. Don't you see?
I agree. I'm just saying. I will see stuff about human trafficking, and someone on Twitter is like, "Why aren't they in jail yet?" And I'm like, "You're talking about jail with these people?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's our problem. Is like we're so weak. It's like I want to see them behind bars. Oh, that's good punishment for them.
No,
it's
quick trial.
Ridiculous." Yeah.
So but you'll remember how the Zimmerman case went in the 90s, right? Like what they did there.
Yeah.
They printed a fucking copy of PGP into a paper book and sold it to somebody overseas. Munitions or a book.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that we are not doing.
Yeah. That's true.
And we really ought to be. Like all we would have to do is make a middling effort to pump as much money into the Dragonchain Defense Fund, for example, as people have shoved into something stupid like Constitution DAO.
Yeah.
You guys could have national PR campaigns ruining their fucking day, and it would be a trivial gesture by most of them.
And that's why, we've talked to a couple of lawyers that are publicly out there on the crypto side, and they've specifically said, we have a really good case, really good actions, like the history and everything else, and the pedigree. We came out of Disney. It's obvious we were all engineers. We weren't. Nobody on the team ever has come from Goldman Sachs or any similar group, right? Where, and not even, by the way, I would normally say something bad about Goldman Sachs, but not even caring what you think about Goldman Sachs. It's the fact that someone from Goldman Sachs is a freaking banker or a junior banker, and they want to do things that banks do. And
they would know how to do things that banks do when they're not being good banks, right?
Yeah, right. And we're so totally apart from all of that, that it should be a good case. And and when we put out open source money, right, we put a bunch of resources into that. We made a bunch of deals to make that happen. We finally got it on air. And I will say, some people in crypto, I was surprised. Like they did a review on Cointelegraph, and they basically said, it was funny because they were assuming it was going to be like this shilling thing, right, for Dragonchain. And they were surprised, and pleasantly surprised, I think is what they said, that it was about fundamentals. It was about what is this tech. It's about, how what difficulties these projects are having.
Joe, I've got an interviewer who wants to meet you, by the way.
Okay.
Talked to him last weekend. We got to talk about this. By the way.
And we need to cut too. So let me know. I'll go on almost any show. So
I'll fill you in on the end because
I'll dress up again. I meant to wear a tie today too, but I had to reinstall a driver, so I ran out of time. So anyway, I'm gonna keep doing that, guys. All right. So let's cut here. All right. Hopefully the memes thing.
I like them, but I'm not listening to a lot of stuff you're saying.
That's why. I think it helped us break up and not work on one topic for so long. Maybe I don't know.
You talked about the bell curve and being stupid. I used to be so jealous. Legitimately jealous of stupid people. Like really stupid people.
Like ignorant, like blissful.
Like Cartman was when he wanted to be in NASCAR.
They were no. I mean, real stupid people. I remember. Okay. My car broke down. It had a blown head gasket. I was a white collar, financial advisor. And I had to fix it. This is back before the internet. So I had to go to the library. That's getting ahead of myself. I just was trying to get on my friends. Hey man, can you fix this? Can you fix this? This one guy's like, yeah man, I'll fix it for you. Just give me a 12-pack and I'll do it. So I got him the beer. Got his girlfriend. He lived in a freaking hotel room. And he didn't know how to fix it, dude. He was just drinking the beer, talking stuff. And they're both, his girlfriend was the dumbest woman I've ever met. And it's not like they're not being mean. I mean, they're just dumb. This car drove by and she said, oh, look at that car. The color. And you looked up and they both just looked at it and went, oh.
Okay.
It's like they were stoned, but they weren't. That's how they live their life. And I'm stressed with my freaking 2 sets of twins, trying to make ends meet. My car's broke down. I'm stuck in this trailer park trying to get it fixed for free. And I was so angry. And I just looked at him. I was like, oh, man, that's the life. Dude, if I could be that happy from a color of a car. But then I died, and I was in a coma. And when I came out of it, I was stupid. And it was horrible because I was not stupid before. So you guys couldn't handle it. I'm telling you right now, especially Greg. My vocabulary was cut like by 75%. What? So I'd be wanting to use a decent sized word, and I would be like,
ouch,
the thing, you know. And it was so.
It's nothing more frustrating than that.
Yeah. It was pretty rough being dumb for a while.
Really? Wait, when did that happen? Wait, what? I'm totally confused.
Don't ask me to tell my story about dying because I've said it. I've told the story.
I don't think I've heard that. Have I heard that? Maybe I'm just I have maybe.
I died and then I was in a coma for a while, and then
what? Okay, you have to tell me this next time we have a show.
Well, it's a very funny story. I mean, it's not funny. It's sad, but certain parts of it are hilarious.
Oh my god!
Obviously, it has a happy ending because you were still here.
Yeah, that's what matters. That's what matters. I'm still here. I don't know. The dude that was in a coma for 20 years or whatever and heard everything going on. That was a crazy story. All right, so let's cut out of the memes. So I don't know. Hopefully that went well enough. I'll queue up everything. But Lisa, what's going on this week?
This week, just kind of the regular stuff. I don't have too much other than the regular stuff. Sean and I did a show on Tuesday. I've got another show with Johnny Litecoin later today on YouTube, and then happy hour on Friday. So just kind of more of the same. We will be doing a crypto class coming up, so they can go to litecoinlisa.net and sign up for that. Just very basic 101 to help kind of newbies if people are interested.
Right on. Greg, I'm going to throw it to Greg first.
Okay, so I was on Saturday lucky enough to sit down with this awesome German developer by the name of Samuel Huber. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his last name. Huber or Huber.
Okay.
I should have asked him. But anyway, really smart dude, really sharp developer who understands blockchains and wanted to talk seriously about things like DAO solutions and just more broadly about like why crypto, why Web3, why the decentralized movement offers something of massive value to people, and just sort of enthuse about the things that will be possible in a way that is meant to educate people who don't quite know about it yet. So, and when the show was over, because we talked for a little over an hour, and it was just awesome conversation that ranged very widely. I got a nice, somewhere in there's like a 10-second clip where I'd wax poetic about the situation Dragonchain is in, and highlight the situation him, which he had not fully grasped with you guys specifically, right?
That's cool.
And so he was looking for guests, and I was like, "You want to meet Joe from Dragonchain?"
Yeah,
it's like you guys would hit it off. Like super awesome. Not hypey, definitely understands tech, wants to talk about how it impacts policy, and like certainly is interested in the plight of companies being targeted by the SEC. So,
yep, let me know. I'll be there.
But anyway, I talked to him for about an hour. That conversation should be online within the next sometime soon, I'll post links on Warpcast in the Cypherpunk channel and also on my other usual channels.
Yes, send it. Make sure we have it. We'll, repeat it wherever.
Yep. And he's also volunteered to come on here sometime if we want to have him on. We just have to send him an email.
We should be doing that more. I have to apologize to everybody. I'm not the best at making sure everybody gets, because I think there are a couple other people who've agreed to come on at least occasionally. So, Sean, what is up?
Me and Lisa do our show on Tuesday. It's Truth Tuesday. First half's on her channel, second half's on my channel. I wanted to talk about this in current events, and I freaking forgot. My whole show was talking about, I don't know if y'all have heard of zombie deer. Outbreak all over the United States.
Yes.
And I want to talk to Greg specifically because I think he would know, with his dad being, the doctor and all. Do you know of something called toxoplasmosis?
Toxoplasmosis, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or toxicoplasmosis. I'm not sure if there's hang on,
I did get it right because I remember that from before. So years ago, this was happening in rats. And now it's happening in deer, but it's called something different. Wasting syndrome or something. I don't know. But these deer are it's moving across the United States. It happened about a year after, oddly, the Gates Foundation put out all these vaccines for wildlife, especially in government land. Where all the outbreaks started, they're in like national parks with the deer. But now it's like deer, elk, anything in that family. They're
that thing has a vicious life cycle, man.
Yeah, and then the University of Minnesota came out with a study that it can go to humans. So that's kind of what the big thing is. And this is
humans are part of the life cycle of the basic virus, right? Or not virus? Is it a virus? I think it's actually maybe some kind of bacterial fungus
virus,
cystic thing.
And some things I read said it's a bacterial.
No, the parasite. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Time.
Okay. Anyway, check that out since I didn't talk about it. But I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on it. Also, on the fact that, and all this stuff rating, I forgot it, that they hit a 1/1000th of a degree from absolute zero on the Earth. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that when it comes to quantum computing. That opens the door for it. Yeah, I knew you would think that you freaking should have been more prepared for that and brought it up. Thinking about it all week. I was waiting for the day. Also, we're probably going to start a new show on my channel and Kiff's. And maybe these shit talkers will actually come on the show. It's just going to be hanging out and like playing poker.
Can I come on that?
Yeah. As soon as we started talking about, I was like, Joe, Greg probably finally come on.
I suck at poker, but I'll come play.
Yeah, talk some BS and
that'd be fun.
Let's do it.
Is it going to be called Shit Talkers?
No.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, why not?
I thought crypto poker would be good, but yeah, okay, maybe Shit Talker. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it.
All right. Cool. For me,
what was Bill and Ted? Be awesome to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a good one.
So I'll go quick. I was on an interview yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. With NYC. And he's always good to talk to. So go watch that. I think we posted it from the Dragonchain Twitter, and I don't know. Otherwise, just I'll do all the good things. Next week, the theme is Grand Theft Auto 6. So make sure you get in there when that gets posted. I have no idea what that's going to be about or how we're going to work it, but it'll be fun. So make sure you share. The more lot comes from the more views. So like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.